Good morning. We'll call the meeting to order, and we'll have the invocation, Supervisor Wakamoto, and Pledge of Allegiance, Supervisor Angus. Please stand.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the ability to gather this day. We thank you for the people in the audience. We ask you to grant us wisdom as we listen and make decisions that consider the benefit of Mojave County. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I said aye.
The Board of Supervisors may, by motion, recess into executive session to receive legal advice from the board's attorney on any item contained in the agenda pursuant to the Arizona Revised Statutes. Okay, we need a motion and call for action for an executive session to be held on June 4th.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those carried. Motion carried. On to official business. Mr. Esplin.
Nothing to report to the board.
Okay. Committee and legislative reports. Supervisor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just an update. Secretary Zinke developed a list of minerals that are critically vulnerable and uranium's on it, so we're one step closer to maybe getting our land freed up.
Very good. Supervisor Angus.
I have nothing this morning.
Supervisor Wakamoto.
I have nothing.
And do we have Supervisor Bishop on the phone?
Supervisor Bishop, are you online?
Supervisor Bishop is traveling to the Western Interstate Region Conference and is not on the line yet. And I have nothing to report this morning other than we're having a great deal of time and discussion with our friends at the Central Arizona Project, which we will continue to do. County Manager's report, Mr. Hendrick.
I have no report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, approve the April 16th Board of Supervisors minutes.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Okay, next we have call to the public. Those wishing to address the board at the call of the public regarding matters not on the board agenda must fill out and submit to the clerk request to speak form. They're located in the back of the room. This needs to be done prior to the meeting. Action taken as a result of the public comments will be limited to responding to criticism, referral to staff, or placing the matter on a future agenda. Comments are restricted to items not on the regular agenda, with the exception of the consent agenda, and must relate to matters within the jurisdiction of this board. My first speaker this morning to call to the public is Amanda Kaufman.
Good morning, Chairman Watson and supervisors. My name is Amanda Kaufman. My address 6615 East Flag Mine Road, Kingman, Arizona. I come to you today. I have a statement I want to read, and you each should have a copy of it as well. Mojave County is going into the worst fire season in the last 15 years without a park ranger at the Wallapai Mountain Park. Arizona Department of Forestry came here during our annual fire contingency plan review last quarter, which Supervisor Bishop attended, and had indicated that the state of Arizona has the community of Pine Lake and the Wallapai Mountain Park as the #1 threatened area in the state of Arizona this year. In the meantime, Mojave County continues to encourage people to come to the Wallapai Mountain Park to recreate and use the thousands of acres of state and federal land in the area. And we even brought the Arizona Peace Trail system up there. So we do have a lot of people that come and go from that area. But yet, we still do not have a full-time dedicated law enforcement park ranger on staff at the park. And I'm sure you guys are aware of back in April, he had resigned, and that position is currently vacant and not being advertised. It's critical to have this position going into this wildfire season filled, because that law enforcement position coordinates the efforts during a wildfire in this area. It's also responsible for law enforcement issues surrounding potential evacuations, fire bans, disorderly conduct, closures, and maintaining the law and order
joined the conference.
Okay, and maintaining the law and order within the park. While there is a currently newly created position being advertised as park superintendent that includes the responsibility of overseeing all law enforcement functions in the park, and it is to manage park security and natural resource protection, among other things, and that position actually closes today. It's being advertised currently. This position does not require a post certification, which is basically that law enforcement piece. My question to the board is, how does a superintendent oversee law enforcement issues when there's no one there to provide law enforcement, and the position itself as the superintendent does not require post-certification? Also, how did this position take on a higher importance than filling the law enforcement position of the park ranger? While we are entering this extremely dangerous fire season with 4 fires that started just yesterday in Arizona, I do not want this to be an oversight by the Board of Supervisors. I would highly recommend that the Board of Supervisors immediately suspend filling the superintendent position until the full-time law enforcement position of a park ranger has been filled. There may be other options available that I would be happy to discuss at a later time, and I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Ms. Copeland.
Chairman Watson, can we refer this to staff and then put it on the agenda for next meeting?
Certainly. Arthur Garnica.
Hello, my name is Arthur Garnica. I live at 3902 East Packard, Kingman, Arizona. I've been coming to you guys complaining about the Northern Arizona Consolidated Fire District 1 on the building 2600. That I went to the planning and zoning, and they told me that that building is being illegally occupied, and it's been going on for years, over 5-6 years. Pat Moore had bought that building illegally because it's not occupiable. Another thing was I had came to you guys, and Buster Johnson and Gene Bishop had shut me down on speaking, saying that they couldn't listen to me, that I'm not in your jurisdiction. But State Representative Cobbs, Ms. Regina Cobbs, said that this is your district and you guys got to hear me out. And I just want to let you guys know I filed a complaint for violating my freedom of speech. And I came to you guys again with this, where they're getting board members on, and then they rigged the election. They put a guy named Carl Hayes on the board, which is not a resident. So if he's not a resident, he said he lives in the airport hangar, which I got documentation saying it's commercial. It's not a residence. And they've been having illegal meetings. I got them on several quorums. I've been watching Jim Bailey for months. Every time I go to the grocery store or get something to eat, coming out of the Kingman Fire Station. So I feel that he's plotting against the Fire Chief Eder, because he's not at our fire station. He's in the city district all the time, leaving that building all the time. So him and that fire chief got something going on, so something's going to pop up soon. And I brought a thing right here with all my complaints, the ARS statutes that they violated recently. And I'd like to give you guys each one of those. And I also want to say that Pat Moore had a water tender truck that didn't, it was they took it out of the thing 6 months when, I'm getting nervous. All right, let me slow down. All right. Mike Collins had asked, the board member Mike Collins had asked one of the firefighters, when did we take this water tender off the list? It was no good. He goes, 6 months ago. And at that time, he goes, thank you. The firefighter told him, but we knew a year before that the water pump got hot and it didn't work right. So I feel that Patrick Moore put our district in danger by having a fire truck or water tender that didn't work, and he knew a year and 6 months before he took it off. There's so many trucks and vehicles that don't work, and no one's doing nothing about it. But I'd like to pass out these complaints I got for you guys.
If you'll please give them to the clerk.
How many do you guys want?
Just give them to the clerk, please. Thank you, Mr. Garnica.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, now we'll move on to the consent agenda. The following items under the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion of said items unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and action. Supervisor Johnson, do you have any items to pull this morning?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Mr. Chairman. Items 10, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 35.
10, 26, 27, 28, 30, 31, and 35?
29, 33 also. I can make the motion if nobody else pulls it.
Okay, Supervisor Angus.
I think that covers everything.
Supervisor Wakamoto? Oh, no. Supervisor Bishop, any item to pull off the consent?
Nothing more for me.
Thank you. And I have no items to pull either.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve consent minus 10, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, and 35.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Supervisor Johnson, on to item number 10.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question on this, I guess, would be for Patty Mead, if she's here. Oh, there she is. These are in-kind donations, but I noticed that the donations are paying for things that I would believe the county should be paying for, shoreline plumbing, other kind of repairs. Can you explain to me why the county's not doing that? It's twofold. First, it's a county building, so I would think we'd be taking care of it. Second would be we have a procurement list, and if people are going outside to have work done in our buildings without going through procurement, that bothers me also.
Chairman Watson, members of the board, Supervisor Johnson. Since we moved into that building, the site council, there was a verbal agreement made at the time because there was limited funding about certain kinds of repairs happening to the building, as well as landscaping of the park, which was a grant-funded park to start with. So that is why they are paying for some of this. We have limited funds in our budget. When I talked to Public Works Director Steve Latosky, he said it would probably be close to $2,500 to do some of these repairs per year, and we don't have that in our budget currently. So if we wanted to change, I can work on that, but at this point it's been taken care of by the site council.
Okay, I guess my only question then would be if we're doing that, should it be going through Public Works, should still be doing it, but then being reimbursed by, or having all the volunteers that raise the money do it, because we have no control over what's being done to our building? I guess that's my
Sure, I understand completely, and we can work on that.
That was all I had, Mr. Chairman, because we have a lot of that where they're fixing our buildings and we have no idea what's going on.
I'm glad you brought that up. Any questions for Ms. Mead? And your disposition of item number 10?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. On to item number 26.
Chairman, most of these are going to be the same question. I'm just asking the staff, is this item complete and truthful?
Mr. Letowski.
Good morning, Chairman Watson, members of the board. Supervisor Johnson, if I may ask you to repeat your question. I'm sorry.
Oh, my question is this item complete and truthful?
Chairman Watson, Supervisor Johnson, as it pertains to item 26, staff is seeking board consideration and approval for staff to submit an application to obtain a RP&P lease, recreation public purposes lease, to expand the existing Golden Valley Road maintenance yard to provide for additional space for namely resource staging materials, etc. We have an opportunity as the existing yard lies on BLM lands to entertain such expansion with cooperation from the BLM. So yes, it's
Yes.
yes.
The only question I had.
And your disposition?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. On to item number 27.
I have the same question, Mr. Letowski. Is this item complete and truthful?
Chairman Watson, Supervisor Johnson, yes, staff has presented a board action and item for the renewal of the R Water Company franchise to the best of our knowledge, and yes, it represents complete and truthfulness to the best available information we have.
I have nothing further. Motion to approve.
Any other questions for Mr. Letowski?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. On to item number 28.
28, the same thing, Mr. Letowski. Is this complete and truthful?
Chairman Watson, Supervisor Johnson, staff has agendized this item on the premise that the Board of Supervisors approved a $2.2 million budget appropriation for the architect engineer contract that designed the Law and Justice Center. That particular contract was approximately $2.197 million, and as a result, it did not leave in that project budget sufficient funding to facilitate payment of fees for plan review, which the board directed in September 2017 the staff to submit after May 1st. So as a result, we are presenting this motion to the complete and truthful to represent the fees necessary to be appropriate to that budget for plan review.
Thank you. I have nothing further. Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carried. Item 29.
Same question. Is this complete and truthful, Mr. Letowski?
Chairman Watson, Supervisor Johnson, yes, this is complete and truthful on the basis of the private property owner presenting to the Office of the County Surveyor an offer to dedicate a right-of-way in the Colorado City area.
I have no further questions. Motion to approve.
May I ask a question? This is the first time we've heard things like this. Is there an issue that you'd like to share with the board?
I would like to, but I don't know that I can under the...
Why are you asking why this is true and correct based on this particular item?
It's from prior meetings getting not complete or truthful information.
Really?
Well, he can ask the question. But if you want to speed it up, though, you can say, why don't we go through items 30 through 33 and ask the same questions for all three all at once?
I can do that, if the attorney will allow it.
Sure. I
And
don't
it's
see a
okay
problem
with the
that.
board.
You could speed it up a little bit.
All right.
Be fine with me.
Okay, make sure I've got them all. We just did 30, or are we on 30?
Oh, you're on 29.
Oh, okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item 29. Is that correct? Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask to consider items 30, 31, 32, and 33 at the same time, and I would ask Mr. Letowski if this is complete and truthful statements on each of those items.
Mr. Chairman Watson, Supervisor Johnson, the items 30, 31, 32, and 33 are complete and truthful.
I have no further questions. A motion to approve.
Again, I don't know if I got the answer to my initial inquiry, which is why are you challenging that this may not be honest and truthful? I think if you're going to ask that question and imply certain things that the county has a right to know, why you would ask that.
I guess that would be up to the attorney. I don't know that it violates open meeting law by discussing it when it's not agendized for that.
I wouldn't go into the details of why you believe it, but I think as it relates to these, you can answer the question to say, why on these particular ones am I asking this question? It relates to that.
Sure. Well, my answer is that received information that was not, in my opinion, truthful from Public Works before, so nobody's given me any reason to believe anything else is going to be truthful. So I want to make sure that every one of them is stated that it's truthful and complete.
On the record?
Yes.
Okay.
Indicating that from a previous meeting, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Has nothing to do with these items.
Okay.
We have a motion and
Just a motion to approve items 30 through 33.
Second.
a second. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Aye. Motion carried. On to item number 35.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The question I have for the county manager is that at the bottom of your report, you say that we don't have personnel issues from the courts due to Rule 123. I don't believe that Rule 123 covers pay raises and that sort of thing. Is that something that you can look into and get back to us on?
Mr. Hendrick?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Johnson, if that's what the board wishes, I certainly can do that. Let me rephrase that. I can certainly do that for Supervisor Johnson, and I can provide the information to the Board of Supervisors if you all would like the similar information that we provide.
Thank you, Mr. Hendrick. Would you prefer to table this motion, or?
No, I'm fine with it. I'll just make a motion to approve then.
All right, we have a motion to approve
Second.
and second. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Aye. Motion carried. That takes us through the entirety of the consent agenda. Now we're on to public hearings. Item number 38. I'll open the public hearing for the discussion possible action for the adoption of Board of Supervisors Resolution number 2018-052 for the special use permit on assessors parcel number 402-22-097 to allow for recreational vehicle park in an agricultural residential zone in the scenic vicinity on South Las Vegas Way, east of Scenic Boulevard on the Arizona Strip area in Mojave County. I have a number of people wishing to speak to this item, so we'll start with Sean Edwards. Good morning. If you'll give your name and address to the clerk.
Good morning, Chairman Watson, board members. I'm Sean Edwards. I reside at 3560 South Mountain Pine Avenue in the community of Scenic, Arizona, in the Arizona Strip. I am vehemently opposed to this RV park being approved, and there are other people here that will speak on other issues involved in this approval. But to me, the issues involved are integrity and legality. The integrity issue is that 2 weeks ago, Mr. Black, the developer of this property, stood in front of the Community Betterment Committee and stated emphatically that he did not intend to develop the entire 70-acre parcel. This is 2 APNs. The previous APN that's already been approved for this development was 015 Bravo, 402-22015 Bravo. So this is the second APN to be involved in this development. He stated emphatically to the group that was gathered 2 weeks ago that he did not intend to develop the entire 70-acre parcel as an RV park. Subsequently, he said emphatically that he would call the county the next morning and have the wording changed on the application to indicate that it would only be 6 acres on each parcel. Now, if you know anything about real estate law, you know that you cannot change a use or a zoning on a portion of an APN. If you change the use or zoning on an APN, it applies to the entire APN. So my recommendation is that you disapprove this action and rescind the approval on 015 Bravo and have Mr. Black do a legal subdivision of the 2 lots, the 2 6-acre parcels, and then reapply for rezoning or special use permit on those 2 parcels. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy McLennan.
I found out anything I was going to say is going to be covered by people on her website.
Thank you. Keith Nelson. Thank you. Lori Burton.
I'm not sure how this picture thing works. I place the document like this. Okay, I have pictures for you, but I may just have to leave them with you.
Try it again.
I don't want to, it's like that? Oh, thank you. Yay! Okay, let's hope I can run through this and give you all the pictures.
Please give your name and address for the
I will, thank you.
record.
My name is Lori Burton, and I reside at 3433 South Mesquite Lane in Scenic, Arizona. It's my understanding that there was no environmental impact study done on the item 38, nor the corresponding preceding request for the special use and rezoning permit. Shame on the Planning and Zoning Committee for not doing their due diligence and following protocol. Any zoning notices that we could see placed in out spaces where they weren't covered up didn't show up until May 9th, and that was after the Planning and Zoning meeting. There is no income and no benefit for Scenic other than property taxes. That's it. Mesquite will reap the benefits of any shopping. They have all the stores, groceries, Walmart, those stores. The Polaris dealer will get rentals, and that's already an area of congestion because people walk across the road continuously. And Mr. Black lives in Vegas, so a lot of the money probably will be spent in any area but Scenic because we don't have anything commercial for him to buy other than property. We have people moving here from both Beaver Dam and Mesquite to get away from the commercialism, to get away from the noise, to get away from all of that. And we're all drawn to the large lots, the beauty, and the friendly neighbors. And many residents have already said they will move if this passes, and for sale signs have already been placed. If this request is approved, there is a possibility that the town will downsize and be very small, smaller than it is. First picture, we already have road damage, as you can see right in this area. And we also have road damage right where the main entrance is meant to be, because this is the crossroads of Scenic Boulevard this way, and this is Las Vegas way. So the amount of traffic that's going to come from a small RV park is bad enough, but if this is approved, that park could become 70 acres, which is more than 1 mile. And per Commissioner Holtry, Mr. Black stated in the Planning and Zoning meeting on 5/9/18, he intends to start with 12 acres and expand in the future. And there'll be congestion on our roads because they are narrow, and there's no room for a left turn lane anywhere. The backup that's going to come when several RVs are waiting in line to get to the main entrance to be located there in that Las Vegas and Scenic will cause traffic backups in 3 directions. There are people that still work there. We're not all retired. We're not all snowbirds. And I'm included in that group. I do work every day. And if that congestion backs up, there's a possibility of some people be late for work, and school buses that go in and out of there 3 times a day could be backed up. All of the roads in Scenic are, I'm sorry, I'm not doing well with the pictures. They're used for bicycling and walking. So we have a danger of people, there are no paths. We have a danger of maybe injuries or fatalities. We have BLM and, pass for the side-by-sides, and they've destroyed the property, and if it continues, BLM's going to shut down some of our beautiful sites that people come to visit. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you for myself and any other residents who were unable to drive this distance. And in closing, I would like to personally invite any and all of you to come see our nice, quiet town, why we left the crowded, noisy, and congested cities to be in Scenic with the gorgeous views, the friendly neighbors, and small town life. And believe it or not, I have 2 available guest rooms. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burton. I've got a question for you.
Okay.
Do you live within 300 feet of the applicant's property?
Actually, I do not. There are people that do.
And
our new house is being built within 200 feet of that.
pardon me?
And there are new houses that are being close to 200 new feet. There's property there for sale that are less than 300.
Right, but you don't live within 300
No, I
feet.
live farther than 300.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Teresa Morgan?
I don't have anything to say that's not going to be.
Okay, thank you very much. Just a question, do you live within 300 feet? Thank you. Of any of the prior speakers, do any of the people that live within 300 feet of the subject property that have spoken this morning? Thank you very much. Kathy Tackett Hicks?
Good morning, Honorable Chairman, Supervisors. My name is Kathy Tackett Hicks. I'm acting as the owner's agent in this matter right now, and the owner is here if you have specific questions to him. I did want to address some of the issues with this item. In fact, in 2011, the board did approve the same request for an RV park, but with the economic downturn, it was never realized. So with the markets getting better, this area in particular is experiencing some growth. It's now suitable to bring this back to you, and I hope that you will approve it. In terms of regulations and stuff for the county, this does comply with the Mojave County General Plan. It does comply with the Virgin River Area Plan, which is significant, and the area does show a lot of commercial development. So this is absolutely in sync with those 2 plans, which it needs to be. There was a few comments concerning a special use permit from the first gentleman, and yes, of course, you can approve a portion of any parcel. Special use permits are used consistently for various things, helicopter sites, water tanks, whatever, and they are site-specific, and specific to what's presented before you. In this case, it's an RV park. It has 29 lots to it. It is small. It's a 6-acre location. It's bordered with the scenic road and Las Vegas Boulevard, and on the back of it is a wash, so it fits on that corner. The one woman asked about an environmental impact study, and those are not required with the county. What this gentleman will have to do, Mr. Black, is go through the county's commercial site plan requirement, which will be looked at by the Public Works Department and Planning to make sure that any impacts to the local infrastructure will be addressed through that process. The site does have power to it, and it does have water to it. It is suitable for this use and matches all the county's requirements for development, and I hope you'll be able to approve it right now. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Question for Ms. Hicks. I have a question. Have you made contact with Brian Woodridge with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for the tortoise possibilities on that property?
I have not. I don't know if Mr. Black has? No. Okay. If it is in an area of endangerment with that, any construction does have to comply with that, and they'll have to have a biologist on site. I'm just not sure if that's is that within this area?
Right. Yeah, we're currently developing some protocols for habitats that are close to tortoise habitats. So just be aware of if this is approved that.
Absolutely.
Well aware of those.
I'm familiar with those
possibilities. You don't want to have a $10,000 fine for overlooking a tortoise on your property.
Okay. I agree. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Black. Thank you very much, Mr. Black. Anyone else wishing to speak to item number 38? Did I overlook it? I'm sorry. Yes, Kathy Witt, right? Is that right? Kathy Wright, please.
Thank you, Mr. Watson and people of the commission. My name is Kathy Wright. I live at 3404 Mesquite Lane. And I've sent a letter to Mr. No one can hear me. Mr. Watson before, but I have not had a reply that you'd read my letter. This was about 2 weeks ago. But in any case, I could read that letter or I could go on. I have a new one.
Go right ahead, ma'am.
I am opposed to this RV park. I want to know, first of all, what is the 300-foot recommendation, or why are you asking that? It doesn't matter. It affects us. It's behind us. Why the question for 300 feet?
That's recognized as the area in which you could make a proper protest.
Well, we're pretty proper because it's behind us.
I'm sure you are. Do you live within 300 feet of the property?
No, I do not. But no matter what, everything this park is going to do will affect me directly. And I'll go on with my letter now.
Certainly.
Okay. Our area is a rural residential community that does not fiscally or morally support this commercial enterprise. Our home is on the edge of the ravine that they just mentioned that will be used by the Razor vehicles, style vehicles. This is the only recreation you can do in this area. The noise will be deafening. We are on the ravine. It's deafening and dusty at all times of the day and night. This is exactly the opposite effect of why we are in that area and it affects our neighbors. We are not snowbirds. We live there full time. We know our taxes will be increased while the value of our home decreases, and it will decrease because of the noise and the dust will decrease and support some other person's whim. We will have to pay for the added maintenance to the infrastructure. We have limited policing. We'll receive nothing that benefits the residents of this area. The RV park will not be in the fire district, so I want to know, how does Mr. Black plan for the fire protection? And Mr. Black is not a man of integrity. He has gone back on his word to the community that he only wanted to develop so many acres. He has 70 acres. He's not going to stop there. And I do not believe he and his business would be a good fit in our neighborhood. And it is in our neighborhood. The venture of Mr. Black's does not fit the scenic area. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I have a question for Kathy Tackett Hicks or Mr. Black.
Yes, sir.
It's been said that the fire district will not be covering the property. Is that correct?
Are you in the fire district?
I'm sure, I thought it would be, but I don't know. It's the first time I've heard of that.
It would appear to me that it would certainly be within the district, but it's a question we need to probably find out.
Thanks. Yeah, they always say if it's in the, here. It's the next one. Oh.
It seems strange to me that it wouldn't be in the fire district.
Yeah. The site is within the Littlefield Fire District.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that, yeah.
Thank you.
We were told at the last community meeting that to be in the fire district, the property next to you had to be in the fire district, and if it's bare land, it's not.
Ma'am, it's just been identified as being in the district. This is in my district, and what I would like to do, actually, let's close the public hearing before any further. Anyone else wishing to speak to item number 38? Those who have already spoken, would you like to speak again? Is that correct? I'll give you one more opportunity. Make it very brief, please.
The other lady, excuse me. Good, thank you again. Pardon me?
Your name again, please.
Lori Burton.
Thank you, Ms. Burton.
The other lady that spoke said that there was a lot of commercialism growing there. And we want to know, there is the same commercialism there that's built there. Nothing else new is coming in. And we want to know what she's referring to. As far as the fire, what we're referring to is if you are not in the district as determined by scenic, and I don't know who determines this, I'm sorry, that what happens is when the fire trucks will come out, but they will charge whoever had the fire what it cost them to come out. So if there's a fifth wheel in the park that gets on fire, when they get there, they will charge that person that had the fire their full charges to come out if they're not in the fire district. That's what we're referring to. And one more item, there are already 744 RV park spaces within 10 miles of scenic. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. I'll close the public hearing for item number 38. And now we'll propose to table the item for 2 weeks. I would intend to make a trip up there, possibly on Wednesday, and have an opportunity to go up and actually kick the dirt, so to speak, as we say, make sure that I get any additional questions answered. So with that, I've got a motion to table it for 2 weeks.
I'll second that.
We have a second. Any further discussion? There being none, so we'll table it for 2 weeks. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. We'll be tabling it for 2 weeks. Item number 39. Open the public hearing for discussion, possible action, adoption of the Board of Supervisors Resolution number 2018-053, amend the Mojave County General Plan and the Desert Hills Fire District Area Plan from a heavy industrial land use designation to a GC, general commercial land use designation for assessors parcel number 120-08-002 in the Lake Havasu City vicinity, west of State Highway 95, north of Heights Boulevard in Mojave County, Arizona. Anyone wishing to speak to item number 39A? Anyone wishing to speak to 39A? There being none, I'll close the public hearing. And Supervisor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a problem with this, that when we did the area plans, this is the only area available down in that part of the county that's available for MX. And if we change this zoning for general commercial, and what they're looking at is putting in RV storage and the same sort of thing that's right at 95 and 40, I think it's going to cut us off from any industrial growth in that part of the county if we do this. That's my thought.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to item number 39A?
Tim. Okay. In looking this over, it was development that was going to be in conjunction with the development of the area, and I was good with that. And is that the only heavy industrial site in that area?
Pull up my zoning. Currently, I believe what Chairman Watson, Supervisor Wakamoto, what this action here does will amend the general plan to go from a heavy industrial use to a general commercial land use designation. In this area, it's currently surrounded by BLM land. So as Supervisor Johnson noted, this area would be, excuse me, this allows basically some of the limited private ownership in that area. So in amending it from a heavy industrial to a general commercial, it would remove that heavy industrial designation out of that land use and amend it to this general commercial land use. I don't know if that answers the question or not.
Is this the only area in the district that has heavy, is that what you said?
Area.
It's the only area that has heavy industry?
I believe it is. There might be something across the highway, there could be, but this area is, when you're going to, for clarification for other board members that might not be familiar with it, when you're going to Havasu on 95, on the left side of the road is Havasu Heights, where all the development is. This is on the right-hand side, and like Public Works was saying, there's only this one piece of land on the right out there, which made it ideal because there'd be no homes around it, nobody complaining or anything else for heavy manufacturing. Lake Havasu really has no heavy manufacturing. It's close to the highway. All of their land out there has been used for the same, we have storage lots and mini marts and gas stations further down. So
I looked at this before, but I need to hear from him. I looked at this before because it seemed to be in conjunction with what was happening in the area for development, and I'm looking for development in the Havasu area because I think it's beneficial to the county as well as, but is there other heavy industry?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Board Member Wakamoto, this is the only heavy industrial in this area. There is some warehousing up close to the I-40, US 90, or Highway 95 interchange, but as far as heavy industrial, I believe this is the only piece.
If I may add, just to expand on your question, the use that's being proposed would be compatible in this area. Basically what we'd be doing, where it's already designated as a heavy industrial. This would be dialing it back some, and general commercial would be a lesser intense use for that area.
And is heavy industrial for the rest of the area still available once we change this?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Board Member Wakamoto, a lot of the property in this area is owned by BLM. So that takes a significant portion of the land mass out of the running. Depending on whether or not another piece of property can be changed in the plans to be heavy industrial really depends upon the location, availability to roadways, the type, the ability to extend or create infrastructure.
I like this development, and I think it was very compatible with the use and everything else. I like the fact that it's going to happen now, and that, shoot. Thanks, Buster. I really like this project.
Well, but what it does is it limits the future of the county. I mean, this is a, for lack of a better word, it's an easy thing to do. Everybody has storage units. Havasu has become a storage unit capital of the world, I think. Now there's none available. You can't rent one. You have to buy one for $125,000. I think it's the cheapest one available. But if we do away with this, I mean, this is a perfectly zoned, or in the general plan area, perfect piece of property for heavy industrial. And if we give that up and let somebody come in and put in, a mini mart and storage units, you've lost that future.
Mr. Hendrick?
Chairman Watson?
Yes, Supervisor Bishop.
I believe that the I-40 Griffith Industrial Park has heavy industrial and MX zoning available in that area. That's fairly close to the Lake Havasu turnoff there. Just wanted to throw that out there for Supervisor Wakamoto.
Thank you very much.
Is that true?
Mr. Hendricks?
Mr. Chairman, may I ask just one question for clarification in my mind that might be important for the board to consider? Does the heavy industrial zoning prohibit a general commercial from going in that area?
The heavy industrial would limit the use of the RVs. The heavy industrial would allow for the, I don't know if the heavy industrial, it wouldn't allow for the specific use that's being proposed, the storage or the RVs, if that answers the question.
And thank you for, I always thought that if you had a lesser zoning, it could go into a higher zoned area.
That was my understanding too, it seems.
So.
Mr. Chairman, I think it has to do with, now they're putting septics in and all that. There's all of that, so that'll do away with the MX. Mm-hmm.
Yep, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this particular item is on the general plan, so it's not zoning, it's land use designation and how the general plan defines that. The zoning ordinance does have a little more leeway as to some of the zones that the county has are, you can do in a lesser, you can do in a lesser intense use in some of the more intense zones. It typically does not go all the way back, or it does not back up, such as if it's heavy industrial, it does not typically allow unfettered commercial uses in the heavy industrial zone. If I'm making any sense.
Thank you. Any further questions?
So you're telling me that if you leave it heavy industrial,
mm-hmm.
He cannot do what he wants to do with a rezoning of it? It has to be, the general plan has to be changed?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Board Member Wakamoto, The uses that the applicant is proposing cannot be done in a heavy industrial zone. Or, excuse me, no, I'm making the mistake, in a heavy industrial general plan designation.
Can I table this?
Certainly. But I would have to close the public hearing first. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to item number 39A?
Mr. Chairman, may I ask for another clarification?
Certainly.
And I'm somewhat confused. And this would have this change in land use designation. We're not changing the zoning at this time. We're changing the general plan. Does that have any ramifications about the land use law that was passed years ago, that the 208 or whatever it's?
Members of the board, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Hendricks has Proposition 207. And the applicant is requesting a less intense plan designation. And also 39B is a rezone. When an applicant requests a rezone, we do have them sign a waiver stating that they will not request a claim from the county should there be any loss in value.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You bet, Mr. Hendricks. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to item number 39A? Yes, sir.
Ryan Rodney, Irvine, California, Riverbound Storage Management. Chairman Watson, Supervisor Wakamoto, want to thank you for taking the time and considering our plan and rezone. I'm a big believer in this project. I think with Supervisor Bishop stepping in and eliminating the concern for heavy industrial use, apparently there's a second location that would leave that availability there. I think that needs to be recognized. But I think ultimately this is going to bring significant benefit economically to the County of Mojave. I think all of our goals are in alignment. And just for my own personal use, I know that there is a shortage of storage availability. So the concept here would be ultimately offsetting that and creating a convenience for RV goers and boat enthusiasts and desert enthusiasts and all of the above. And within our conceptual plan, we have amenities that will be open to the public that will also create economic benefit to the County of Mojave.
Thank you.
Okay, Tim, was Supervisor Bishop correct that there is another heavy industrial site?
Chairman Watson, Supervisor Wakamoto, the area that Supervisor Bishop referenced is the I-40 industrial corridor, which is Griffith Energy. In Griffith Energy practice there, the state prison, that area provides a heavy industrial use. I couldn't tell you offhand the distance from this location to that, but it's basically an I-40, along I-40. Supervisor Johnson, you may know better than I do about the distance.
Just to give you an idea, at one time I was going to let people know in Havasu how beneficial the I-40 corridor was that I was pushing every day by doing a count of all the people that worked in North Star and all the rest of these places who lived in Lake Havasu. There was absolutely zero people that lived in Lake Havasu that worked in any of these businesses.
Oh, is that right?
So I didn't use that as a talking point. So if we do away with, besides, it's a closer location to the California market, and it could be used for different ones. But if we do away with that, then it pretty much limits heavy industrial and jobs for the Lake Havasu area that possibly could come in.
Thank you.
Chairman Watson? Tim, over the last, you might not know, maybe Chris does, over the last 10, 15 years, how many projects have you seen that wanted to utilize that heavy industrial in that particular area?
I will lean on Chris for that. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Board Member Angus, there has been some interest. I'm trying to remember exactly the dates when the prison was built. I think that was the last project that was actually built. There has been interest in parts of that corridor. The department in the past has been contacted by various concerns. Several truck stop proposals have gone into the area. Walmart at one point in time was going to build a distribution center. Unfortunately, most of those never came to fruition.
Right. If we approve this today, and next year somebody wants to come in that area, would there be any means, any mechanism for that to happen?
If somebody wants to come in the same area that this particular proposal is in,
yeah.
That is really a difficult question to answer. I think it depends on the proposal.
But we could look at it, and there could be a special way of doing it. It should, because this is the project that is shovel-ready now. So we're thinking about things that may happen in the future, although by history, it hasn't happened. Right?
That's correct.
Okay.
And any proposal would come before the board, and the board can weigh the factors and make a decision. This area is somewhat hampered by the fact that so much of it is in public ownership.
Right.
I would also note that on the north side of I-40 in this area, there is some property designated heavy industrial in the plan. However, that property at this point in time has no access.
Okay, thanks.
So north of I-40 and the possibility that there will be the ability to come back if necessary for heavy industrial use is possible? Is that what you're telling me?
Board Member Wakamoto, yes.
Okay.
I have a question of Ms. Ballard, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Johnson.
That's a really nice answer you gave there, but the probability, we just went through somebody wanting to have a RV park where the people were complaining about that. When you do a general plan, we set aside areas and everybody gets together, or at least as many people as should get together, and we set aside areas for heavy manufacturing because that's obviously the one that draws the most heat. And if we were to say, okay, by now we want to go in, I have property in Havasu Heights and I would like to zone that for heavy manufacturing, the chances of that are pretty much zero. I mean, it's possible, like you're saying, it's always possible that the board could do that, but I mean, I've never seen a heavy manufacturing go any place that wasn't put into the general plan. Well, I can't say that. We've done a few where we've changed them, but it's very narrow, especially out there because of just a lack of private land. I mean, and this is so separated. I mean, there's nothing else over there. I mean, you could put whatever you want over there and it wouldn't bother a soul. So that was my only complaint. If we do it, then in the future, and it might not be this year or next year, and there was people, Carl Fouché was sat here, we all know, he was looking at doing heavy industrial on that piece of property and solar and that sort of thing. And obviously now that's not going ahead, but but that's all. I just think for the future, if we do away with this, there'll be no more MX zoning down in that area.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Chairman Watson,
Supervisor Angus.
With all that we're talking about, and with all due respect, this is the project, and it was cleared by planning and zoning. So I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Well, we need to close the public hearing first.
Oh, I thought you did already. Okay.
So, just wanted to make a double sure that anyone else wishing to speak to 39A. There appears to be no one else, so I'll close the public hearing.
Okay.
I was going to ask to table it. But
Well,
that's
I'm going to
okay.
make a motion to approve item 39A.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 39A. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
And those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. On to item number 39B. Open the public hearing for the discussion and possible action on the adoption of Board Resolution 054 for the rezone, parcel number 120-08-002 from agricultural residential 36 to CH zone to allow for storage units, recreational vehicle park, gas station, dump station, convenience store in the Lake Havasu City vicinity, west of State Highway 95, north of Heights Boulevard. And we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to item number 39B? No one wishing to speak to 39B. I'll close the public hearing for 39B.
I move that we pass 39B.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. I believe that Supervisor Bishop's vote was a positive, but may want to check.
That's correct. That was a yes.
Okay, thank you. On to item number 40A, open the public hearing for discussion, possible action for the adoption of Board Resolution 055 to amend the Mojave County General Plan from rural development area to suburban development area land use designation for a special parcel number 317-04-282 in the Dolan Springs vicinity, south of 11th Street, west of Johnson Road, in the Mojave County General area. The Commission recommended approval by unanimous vote. Anyone here wish to speak to item number 40A? Anyone wishing to speak to 40A? There being none, I'll close the public hearing. Chair would entertain a motion for item 40A.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carried. On to item number 40B. Open the public hearing for the discussion and possible action for the Board Resolution number 056 for the rezone of a parcel number 317-04-282 from agricultural residential 5-acre minimum to agricultural residential zone to allow for a minor land division in the Dolan Springs vicinity, south of 11th Street, west of Johnson Road, Mojave County General Plan, or General Area in Mojave County. Commission recommended approval by unanimous vote. Anyone wishing to speak to item number 40A?
B.
No one wishing to speak to 40A? I'll close the public hearing.
It's B.
We're on B.
B.
40B.
40B, I'm sorry, 40B. Anyone wishing to speak to 40B? There being none, then I'll close the public hearing for 40B.
Chairman Watson?
Yes, Supervisor Bishop.
Motion to approve agenda item 40B.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And
Aye.
those opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Okay, on to item number 41. This comes under the heading of Mr. Dave Wolf, the Community Services Director. I'll open the public hearing for item number 41. Open for the discussion, possible action for the Community Development Block Grant for fiscal year 18 and 19. The Community Block Grant State Special Project, the Community Development Block Grant SSP projects. Mr. Wolf.
This part is for public comment only.
Public comment only.
And
Any comments? No one wishing to speak to the public? On the public hearing for the CDG grants and the special grants. Okay. Do we then need to close 41A?
Close the public hearing and then would be like a normal item.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing and move on to item B. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Very good. For the discussion, possible action for the adoption of Resolution 020 authorizing the submission of applications for the fiscal year 18 State Community Development Block Grant Funds regional account for $790,240, the State Special Project account for 18 and 19 for $300,000.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion
Second.
and a second for approval. Any further discussion? I just would like to make a comment to Mr. Wilkes that congratulations for the additional funding that you've received.
Had nothing to do with me, but thank you anyway.
All right, very good. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. On to our regular agenda, item number 42. Discussion possible action, acknowledge the receipt of and refer to Public Works a petition filed pursuant to Mojave County Ordinance 2016-09 to have included in the Mojave County Tertiary Road Maintenance Program an approximate 1/6 of a mile section of 10th Street running 300 feet west of Del Norte Drive located in Dolan Springs area. I believe this is in Supervisor Bishop's district.
Chairman Watson, I'll make a motion to approve if there's no discussion.
Thank you. We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
And those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 43, discussion, possible action, approve the Public Works Department organizational redesign within its Improvement District Division through hiring an Improvement District Supervisor and allocating this position number 1019, personal expense to fund 856, the GIVD water at 60%, fund 850, I-40 water at 30%, and Fund 865 Horizon 6 water at 10%. Eliminating vacant, authorized position number 10912, Office Assistant, Improvement Districts until further notice and authorized by the Board of Supervisors, and allocating personal expense under position number 11591 and position number 930, Administrative Supervisor, Engineering Manager, to Fund 205, Highway User Revenue Fund at 100%, whereas said action will achieve estimated annual savings of $1,917 to Fund number 856, the Golden Valley Water District, an annual increase of $1,291 to Fund number 850, the I-40 water, and an annual increase of $5,171 plus benefits to Fund number 565, Horizon 6 water, an annual increase of $15,964 to Fund number 205, the HERF Fund. I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion
Aye.
carried. On to item number 44, discussion, possible action, direct staff to review all right-of-ways held by Mojave County to ensure legal access and appropriate widths for public uses. Supervisor Johnson brings this item number 44. Supervisor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last meeting, we had quite a discussion over the road issue down in Desert Hills. This isn't the first time these things have come up, and as we are such an old county, I believe that a lot of our right-of-ways could be compromised. We might not have the correct right-of-ways, and it might be a tremendous job to do it, but I think at some point, before it gets too far down the road, a review to make sure not only that we have the right-of-way granted to us, but that we have the adequate right-of-way for whatever the road could be. The reviewing of that would be something that we might want to take on. When I say we, I mean Public Works.
Very good. We have a number of folks that would like to speak to item number 44.
Really?
Frank Greel? Well, there's four of you, so who's speaking first here?
Okay, my name is Michael O'Brien. I own the first lot at Desert Hills at location 3632. And it's a commercial lot, and I'm sharing a lot line with a bar restaurant next door, and they poured concrete onto my property and calling it their right-of-way. The concrete they poured, they're calling it their parking.
Chairman Watson.
Mr. O'Brien, we're on item number 44. Has to do with right-of-ways held by Mojave County.
Yeah.
Which item are you speaking of?
It's an easement on my property. It's a private road, it's a private drive for 8 lots. We are landlocked private property.
Mr. O'Brien, you're going to have to bring this to another meeting.
Okay.
This is not on our agenda today for discussion. Under the purview of item number 44, it's for the general discussion of right-of-ways and legal accesses. If you would like to bring this item to us, I would recommend that you talk to either my assistant or your board member.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, that stumped me. Who's my board member? Yeah.
I believe that would be Mr. Supervisor Johnson.
No, Supervisor Wakamoto.
Supervisor Wakamoto? Okay.
This is the same road that came up last 2 weeks ago.
Right. It's not a road. It's a private drive. It's on private property, and it's an easement.
Yes.
And
if I could just interject, I would agree. Just go ahead and talk with your supervisor. It just isn't properly agendized for today's meeting. Talk with your supervisor to see about bringing it on to a future agenda, or talk with Chairman Watson's administrative assistant about that issue.
So we can get it on the next agenda if possible.
All right.
It's just illegal for us to speak of your particular issue without advertising that issue.
All right.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And if you wait until after the board meeting, I'll give you my numbers.
So I'll ask Mr. Purvis, Mr. Creel, and Martha Creel if they were going to be speaking on the same issue.
Yeah, we were going to speak.
Okay, so we will have that agendized for another meeting.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Johnson, anything further? All right, so I would assume we're going to...
Motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, may I...
Mr. Hendricks, go right ahead.
One of the things I would ask Supervisor Johnson if it's quite an undertaking the way this is worded, if we could narrow it down to roads that are maintained by Mojave County, because that's our interest. Because I believe the way it's written, it would be reviewing all public right-of-ways within Mojave County, and that's thousands and thousands of roadways. If we're talking about those right-of-ways that have been formally accepted by Mojave County, that might be a task that could be undertaken by Public Works.
I could be confused. I think that's what I was meaning, just Mojave County roads, but that would also include tertiary roads at the same time?
Yes.
That's
All roads
what,
that would
that
be.
was my thought. I didn't.
Which would be roughly, 2,000 plus miles of roadway.
Right.
We could take a look at Havasu's if you want, but.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have a motion on the floor then
You're right.
to
I
direct
need a
staff?
motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and with that clarification, any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carried. On to item number 45, the discussion, possible action, authorize the chairman to authorize Riley, Carlock, and Applewhite to file a civil complaint in Superior Court against the MVIDD board and the members personally, if necessary, if the Mojave Valley Irrigation District approves an amendment to their board resolution 9-1 that currently prohibits water from being transferred outside the district and moves forward with the following program that permits the MVIDD water to be transferred to the Central Arizona project.
Motion to approve.
We have a
Second.
motion and a second.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Question, Supervisor
Where will this,
Johnson.
I don't see it in the agenda where the money will be coming from if we do go ahead.
Mr. Hendricks, maybe you can address that.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would recommend that if the board did move forward with this particular item, that they designate that the money would come from the general fund contingency.
Okay. Can we ask the mover to include that in the motion?
Do I have to read the whole thing, or
No.
Just amend it.
motion to approve the item with the addition of that the item will be funded by money from the general fund? Contingent.
And amended section.
Amended second.
Is the clerk happy? Very good. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure this morning. Enjoy the rest of your day.